There we go. So everyone should see that in the chat. And then I'm just going to show you really quickly what those items are. Let me stop sharing my sound here. Number one, you have a checklist of items that you'll want to have pulled up. If you're like me, most of you, this information is digital. So you just need to have it logged in or ready to go so that you can view what you need. And then also, the other item to have tonight is your spreadsheet with your personal finance tracker. Okay. Some of you may have gotten a preview to this. Some of our very first guests from our first seminar, you got to have a preview of this class. So you should, you may have this filled out already, which is even better, but we're going to work through it as we go. I want to remind everyone of our mission here with Women of Faith and Finance is we want to empower and equip women in every church across the nation with how to rewrite our money story. And whatever money story that you have up until now, there's a saying that says what got you here won't get you there, right? So how many of you are 100% satisfied with where you are financially today? 100%. I know no one is, right? So what that means is there's always room for growth. There's always room for improvement. There's always room not only to take in knowledge, but apply that knowledge. Okay, so I'm really honored tonight to welcome our facilitator for tonight. She is a guru. And when I say a guru, she comes from the education background. So she knows how to dive deep and study and understand things that she needs to understand, but she also knows how to give that information back in order to help others. So what better way to get this info tonight than from an educator? She holds 2 math degrees. She was in education for, I think it was about 12 years before LAUSD gave her a $1,000 per month pay cut 3 months after she bought her home. Okay, so she lives in Los Angeles. So go ahead and do the math on that. And she found her way into this industry and looking for a way to just fill that gap. That was initially why she was here. And over time, she realized that this was a place she wanted to plant her flag and how she wanted to take on the mission and empower other women. So we want to be able to host more of these education series. We want to have more seminars in multiple churches all over the nation. So this is just kicking us off. So thank you again for being here. Again, the chat will be lit up tonight. So if you have your chat box open, you can type questions throughout the time. Some of those questions will be answered in real time in the chat box. Some of them we will save for after in a Q&A session. And then I will wrap us up at the end. All right. So at this time, I am so pleased and honored to welcome up Miss Helena J. Conley.
Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. I am so very excited and honored to be here to speak with you guys tonight. Lakeisha, are we doing a reflection?
We sure are. Thank you so much.
Of course, no worries. We got a lot happening. I know it.
Yes. So the other attachment that was in your email, I'm going to share that on the screen. And Angela, if you could copy and paste that chat button again, that message I put for those who just joined us. Welcome, everyone. So this was your freebie giveaway that was attached to the email as well. This is a booklet that we're going to refer to this entire week. Okay. So you get a sneak peek at what to expect for the whole week. All right. But on the, uh-oh, that's not it. Right here on page, let me see. Let me get this open. Sorry about that. All right, we'll keep it in edit format for now. But on this page here, which is page 4, if everyone can go to that page, I wish it was in the viewable format because that's what it looks like for you guys. Let's see if we can get it to come up. There we go. All right, everybody sees that? Okay, perfect. All right, so what I want to ask everyone to do is just sit quietly for about 2 to 3 minutes in a space that's free of distraction. So if you got kids running around, just close the door. And I want you to close your eyes and let that tranquility wash over you and softly whisper to yourself, when I envision myself as a wealthy woman, what comes to mind? Okay. want you to think about that for a few seconds, and then I'll go on to the next part. So everyone, you can turn your camera off for a moment if you need to, but just think for a moment or two, what as a wealthy woman do I envision? What comes to mind if I am a wealthy woman or when I see myself as a wealthy woman? All right. Now that you have done just a little bit of reflection, some of you may realize, whoa, I never thought about that before. I need a little more time. That's okay. That is mainly attached to the life we lead as women, right? There's a lot of reflection that we do on other people's problems and needs and all of those things, especially for the moms out there, right? Or those who are helping parents or, working in your church, all of the different things that we do. We're constantly thinking about other people, what they need, what we can do to help. But what about for you in this moment? I want you to begin to write down just some words or some things that come to mind here in the reflections box. So you have your booklet there. If you don't have it printed out or somewhere where you can write, you can just jot it on a notepad so that you can add it in later. Okay. But go ahead and write some of those things. And if some of you wouldn't mind just unmuting and sharing a couple of words or phrases that came to mind for you. I'll share mine first. One of mine is to be able to give without checking my bank account. Right? When there's someone in need or something comes to my attention, or even if I scroll across something on social media, I want to be able to bless others. It's not always financially. Sometimes it's time, not just money, but I want to be able to bless people without wondering if it's going to impact my personal situation. Anybody else want to share?
Mine is honestly just having a peace of mind. I don't have children, but as many of us know, if we're blessed enough, our parents become our children at some point in time in life again. And I, have a 70, soon to be 4-year-old and soon to be 78-year-old mother and father. And I just want to make sure that if and when the time comes for them to need anything, that there will not be a problem at all. So that is just very, very, very important to me.
That's a great one. I'm sure many of us can relate to that. I'll add another one. Also, a wealthy woman means retiring my parents. Mine are in their 60s. And so they are both, well, one is semi-retired and one is working. Um, I would love to be able to retire my parents so they'll never have to work another day in their lives. Anyone else? And if you're not in a position to unmute, maybe you've got background distractions, you can type it in the chat. Some of us may be realizing that we haven't ever thought about this before. We might need a little more time to reflect, okay? That's what this class is going to be about this week. It's going to give us time to look at ourselves, to look at our home, to look at our family, to look at our goals, okay? So this is that opportunity. While you are thinking some more, I want to share this key piece here at the bottom, and it says, find your fortune, the first step. The first step towards any change is awareness. Awareness. Okay. So we have to slow down long enough and pay attention long enough to recognize where we are, even if it's a harsh truth or an ugly truth. That's okay. We can parallel that to our faith, right? Constantly, we have to reflect on where we are in comparison to where we should be in Christ and what needs to be done, or what do we need to pray for? What do we need to get help for, right? So same thing, awareness first. And then the faulty view of wealth building is that it's only about saving and investing. But what is also just as important is how we manage our money from day to day. What's also important is the quality of our relationship with money. 10 years ago, when I was introduced to this industry, I had a hate relationship with money. I had an avoidance relationship with money. I still had a lot of goals, still was doing a lot of things, but I didn't like checking the statements or the bank accounts. I like to pretend that I'm wealthy, even though I wasn't yet applying the things I needed to apply in order to be wealthy. Okay. Not a good idea. I don't recommend that. Knowing your money in and out, we have to understand where our money is, what's going on with it. And I want you guys to know this, you are sitting on a gold mine and you may not even know it. So today's class, we are going to investigate and find the fortune, because God has already supplied us with everything that we need. So those desires you have, those things that you want to be able to do, those things you want to be able to accomplish, the giving you want to do, all of those things you envision, God has already prepared the way for it. So we're going to dive deep into our situation and we're going to find where that is in our finances today. Okay. So just another reminder, if you did not receive the email, I'm reposting the links to everything in the chat. So you can go to the chat and click those direct links and they'll take you right to those attachments. And let me share one more time the attachments you should have in front of you. One is your checklist of all of the items. And some of us, like I said before, you may have logged in and pulled them up digitally. And some of them you might need to pull out of your file folder or your file cabinet. Okay. That's also attached in the chat. And then the other item that you'll want to have in front of you tonight is your personal finance tracker. Okay. If you didn't receive an email from myself or Angela today, you can put your email in the chat and we will add you to the list. So all the future emails you will receive. Okay. Also, tonight is being recorded. If you have, if everyone can just type their name in the chat, because some of us don't have their name on the Zoom, that way we can account for who's here tonight. We would appreciate that. All right, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my amazing mentor and friend, Miss Helena J. Conley.
Thank you again. You guys, I am very, very excited. I'll say this, I am most excited because I took this same journey, not in the Zoom form because we weren't on Zoom then, but back in 2012. And I just want to let you know that this is definitely a safe space. It is a space for us to, really do some reflections on our money. Because one thing that I've said over the last almost 13 years is we can't make changes to what we don't know is happening. And so this money in, money out conversation, this, right in our face reality check of, our expenses, our assets, our liabilities, it's meant to encourage change. It's meant to motivate us to realize that we absolutely can do better with things. This entire, course or program this week is meant to do that. It's meant for us to be very open and honest, but to feel very hopeful that the things that we want to see happen for ourselves, we're on the right path by the time this program is over. This will hopefully not be the end of you guys seeing us, because like Lakeisha said, we will be doing many more of these. We are very, very proud of how this mission is playing itself out, but we want to make it everywhere throughout the United States. So your words of encouragement, your word of mouth is everything on how you feel going through this process. So definitely we want to fill up every church, and we really, really want to make sure that women have a crystal clear vision for themselves, for their lives. And we don't have much time to do that because we are doing a million things at a time, but hopefully we can get, at least 40 minutes of your attention and for the remainder of these classes this week to really be able to focus and understand that this is about your journey for yourself. And I really love the idea of find your fortune. I promise you this, regardless of what you think about your money situation right now, everything you want is very possible. It is. And I say that after almost 13 years on this journey, constantly reflecting on my financial situation. And as I put goals in place and realize there's things that, I haven't achieved necessarily in the time that I wanted to, it's okay. I just get back up and I keep working toward it. Right. Maybe some adjustments of how I'm working toward that is what's necessary. But I pray that you're not discouraged in this moment, that we can make some things really, really happen. You feel good about where you're headed. So let's jump into some things. I really loved that reflection piece. I am a big believer in visualization, and truly being able to take the moment and figure out what's there for you, right? I realized I didn't really have a big vision for my life. I knew I had goals, financial goals, relationship goals, family goals, those kinds of things. But those goals should be attached to a vision for yourself. And that reflection just took me back to that vision. I am an avid Audible person. I don't necessarily have time or care to actually read books, but I love to empower myself, and Audible is a way that I do that. And I gave myself a goal at the beginning of the year to listen to one book a week and just always figure out where I am in life. Sometimes maybe it's a motivational book, sometimes it's a logical book, sometimes it's a teach me how to do something, how do I help other people, whatever the case is. But one book I read at the beginning of this year was called 12-Week Year. And it was probably the first time in my life that I truly, truly understood how to create a proper vision. And so I'm going to share that with you guys just as you move forward through this process. And in order to get to a place where I can actually, I'm a visual person, I got to be able to write stuff down. I need to be able to look at it. And so what advice they gave in the book, because of course, having your vision is first and foremost when you want to start talking about goals. He said, put down 3 categories, okay? 10 things in each of the 3 categories. And those 3 categories were things you want to be, things you want to do, and things you want to have. Okay? Things you want to be, do, and have. And you don't have to stop at 10, but 10 was the number that he suggested. And I realized through that process that a huge vision for my life that I had never formalized was to empower women. I love everybody, but I learned through that process there was a underlying theme of empowering women. One of my goals that I put in place for this year is to create a nonprofit for women, that I can bring in so many different resources for every type of woman, whether it be single mom, whether it be divorcees, whether it be widowers, whether it be single people like myself, whether it be young girls, whether it be, aging people, whatever it is. But I saw that because I took the time to really do that exercise. So I've just been trying to tell everybody that I thought it was so helpful to just make a crystal clear vision for my life, because the things that you're going to go through in this program is going to help you to get that vision you have for yourself, right? And goal setting is going to be a part of that, but just really getting an understanding of where you are is very, very important. And so I really want to ask you guys again, would love for you to, be interactive. I am a teacher by trade. As Lakeisha said, I love to interact with people. That's why you won't see any slides, because I like to look at faces. And I know some of you guys are probably driving, dealing with the children, all that kind of stuff, but feel free to pop in here, either in the chat or turn your cameras on if you can, so we can interact together. But I do want you to be doing the things that we go through so that you actually are ready to, make some changes through this journey and this process. So tracking. How many people, just a quick show of hands, and if your camera's not on, just use the little reaction button and wave your hand. How many of you guys actually looked through that checklist and started pulling out your information? How much is our money in? What do we have in our accounts? What are our debts and our liabilities, our mortgage, student loans, brokerage accounts, real estates? How many of you guys did that? I see Jamie. Thank you. Thank you. Did anyone else get a chance to touch any one of those pieces? Okay. That's what we want to do today. Okay. And so for me, the spreadsheet is an absolute fantastic way to track the information. But sometimes for some people, maybe it's intimidating to you, right? To see all that stuff. Maybe you don't have enough stuff in the asset section, or, you know, maybe you have too much in the expense section and it gets to be a little overwhelming. That's perfectly fine. Take out a blank piece of paper, divide it into 4, okay? And in your top left, put money in, top right, money out, bottom left, assets, bottom right, liabilities, okay? Money in, money out, assets, liability. And the whole idea of this is at the end to have crystal clear goals for yourself to increase the left side, which is the money in and the assets, and either stop or decrease the money out and the liabilities. And so that's the purpose of this conversation, right? Truly finding your fortune and being able to put yourself and your family on the financial journey that you want, okay? So with that, with the information that you have, hopefully most of you guys have brought that stuff to the table. I'm going to give you, you know, a few moments to start jotting down some stuff. And I am going to ask you guys to, you know, participate with me, but go through and list out, okay? Just go through, check if you have your statement, right, which is always what I suggest to people. And the reason I suggest this is because it was the only way for me to truly see what was happening. I printed out every single one of my statements, okay? Printed them out. I didn't use the app or anything. I wanted to actually see it, paper, pencil, girl. And I highlighted, okay, all of the things that if I lost my job, I wouldn't be doing much of. I like to call those the variable expenses, okay, the extra things, okay? And I highlighted those because I wanted it to be nice and bright. Now, hear me when I tell you, you will not ever hear from me, don't eat that anymore. Don't do that anymore. You're not, because it's not realistic. Okay, the things that we love to do with, you'll see through this program, we've got to make a way for it to happen, because having happiness is also important in this process. Okay, but at least we see what's happening. Okay, so for me, when I did this process and I printed out my statement, I realized, and I'm going to ask someone to share, right? Maybe someone who's already done this. I realized that I was spending over $300 a month on groceries. I'm not on groceries, on coffee. Starbucks, coffee. 7-Eleven, coffee. And again, I'm not going to tell you to stop going to buy your coffee. But for me, it was important to at least know where I was at. So if I needed to make adjustments, I could. Okay. So the funny thing, when I saw this in writing, again, almost 13 years ago, I looked in my kitchen and I said, you have this beautiful coffee pot. You made it pretty like you liked it. You got it red because that's your favorite color. You got all these different flavors of coffee. You got all these different flavors of creamers. Why are you spending $350 a month on coffee? I was like, really? But again, I didn't even realize I was spending it. Okay. So things like that. Maybe you haven't had a chance to do that actual experiment, but if I can get someone to, you know, volunteer a little piece of their conversation, what do you think will be the biggest eye opener when you get a moment to actually go through this, as far as the expenses, the non-fixed expenses, not the mortgage or the car notes or the kids' tuition, but somebody who maybe have done this. I know some of you guys got a sneak preview course with us, or that you just are taking a few seconds to think about. Think about it for about a minute, and I would love for someone to volunteer and tell me what they think that is for them.
Well, I realized that I was spending unnecessary, well, I won't say unnecessary money, but I'm getting ready to do with people coming out and spraying my house. For insects, insects. You know, because like they charge $150 a quarter. And I said, oh, that's $600 I can do on something else.
So is it maybe we don't do the quarterly plan, but it is important for us to check our house? Maybe we move it down to once a year, or did you find that it's just not even necessary for you in your situation, period?
It's kind of necessary,
I
but
agree.
like you said, I was thinking about doing it once a year instead of every third month.
Good. Now, if we automate, everything that comes out of our account, which most of us do, then we don't even know we're spending 600 on it. We just know, hopefully, that at the time it comes out of our bank accounts, there's money there, right? That's what we know. But because there's so many things that are of that, matter, it becomes a little tough sometimes, right? I always refer back to the episode in the Cosby Show, long time ago, with Theo and Dr. Huxtable. And he was wanting to move into his own apartment and something like that, right? He was want to wear the fancy clothes and everything. So his father, Dr. Huxtable, came out with this cash in his hand, and he held all the cash up. And he said, okay, let's live the life, right, that you want to be able to live. First thing he took out was $1,000 for the rent. Next thing he took out was this. You guys remember that episode? He just took it little by little. And by the end of it, he realized that clothes were not of that much importance. Going out and dating the ladies was of not that much importance, right? Because he hadn't even had saving in there anyway, right? So that was an episode that conversation was about. And I said, for all of us, and this will be a part, a little sneak preview of what you'll see later on in the week, imagine we actually took our paychecks, went to the bank, and cashed them, and lived off of what's actually on our paycheck and saw it coming out of our hand every time we spent it. Do you think, just tell me, show of hands or unmute, do you think we would spend like we spend if that were the case? Probably not. Probably not. And so realizing what you do spend is very, very important. Thank you, Cheryl, for that commentary. Would anybody else like to share, right? Maybe you're doing the exercise now, or you thought about it, you've had a few moments to think about it. What is something that you would be very surprised about as far as your expenses? And again, we're not here to tell you don't do it. Okay, this is a safe space, but being aware of it is very, very important. As Lakeisha said, awareness is the first. Okay.
I wanted to share.
Yes. What's your name, sweetie?
Lavelle.
Lavelle. Oh,
Lavelle
wait.
Stewart. Yes.
Is that I see Sis Lavelle. Is that a different Lavelle?
It's probably me. I don't know of many Lavelles. So
Okay, because I see a Sis Lavelle and then I see iPhone. So I didn't know if it was
yes,
people.
yes,
Okay, got it.
that's me. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I got disconnected earlier, but and I'm not
Got it.
sure if
Okay.
anyone said this answer or not, but I would be surprised just how much money I spend on fast food. I'm not sure. Just for my children, sometimes I get off of work and I don't really feel like cooking dinner, so I'll just buy them some food out. But it adds up tremendously. And the last thing I'm gonna say, I was looking into buying a home, and I had a gentleman overlook my finances, and he said, you know what I want you to do? He said, stop buying fast food. And it was so much to the point that he had to mention it. I was like, wow, okay. So yeah, just surprised about the amount of money that I'm spending giving to someone else instead of cooking.
You wouldn't be surprised, maybe you would be. That is on 90% of the clients that we work with, that's their largest expense, besides a mortgage and tuition if they have tuition. Even more than the car note, even more than the utilities, the Wi-Fi, the subscriptions, everything. It's usually the number one thing. And that's why that homework assignment is so invaluable, you guys. I really, really encourage everyone to do that, because you will see, right? If you put groceries separate from eating out, separate from entertainment, those three buckets, whenever I ask someone, this is what I get, because we don't know. We don't know. And just like you said, Ms. Lavelle, just having kids and not feeling like it every single day, or parents or a spouse or yourself. I'm single with no kids. I don't want to cook all the time. I be working. I want to grab something, right? So you're definitely not the only one, but having a true account of it. And if you want to take it one step further, I always suggest to people to do 2 or 3 months of the exact same itemization. Why? Because there may have been a high month because it was a birthday or a holiday or vacation time, right? So you don't want to just assume what happened one month is everything, but pick random months, pick them, hopefully with not too many holidays or birthdays in them, right? And do an average of 2 to 3 months so you can truly get a feeling of what it is, okay? Because we don't want you to be boxed in by these numbers, but it's our starting point. And it's very, very important that you can find the fortune. We know you can. We've been helping people do that for a long time. But for us to see it for ourselves is really what the eye opener is. And so on your spreadsheet, there's several different things listed there. Pretty much every category you can think of. So if you want to, I would really encourage you not to guesstimate, but to actually look through those statements. And don't forget about the Cash Apps, the Venmos, the PayPals, right? For me, I do a lot of my beauty on that, my waxing, or my hair or my nails. A lot of people, they want to get paid through those accounts, right? So don't forget those things, right? But truly figure out everywhere your money goes out. That's your starting point, okay? Another thing we encourage, right? That's the expenses part, which is the eye opener. It makes everyone cry. It made all of us cry. It just does, right? But if you do it one time and you become familiar with it, you will begin to take ownership over your situation. I can promise you that. As best as we can, we will. Another thing that I really, really encourage everyone to do to find their fortune: review your pay stub, you guys. In and out. Same thing, line by line, itemize it. I worked with a lot of teachers for my first couple years in this business. And when I would print out page by page of our LAUSD pay stub, there were so many things that were adding up to hundreds of dollars of expenses that we don't even need, that we didn't even realize was happening, right? And it was, you signed up for this long time ago, but you never even used it. You didn't realize that this had, quadrupled in costs for you over time because of this, and this. This thing is attached to here, but why is it attached to there, right? Itemize it line by line. And if you don't understand something that you see on the pay stub, call your human resources. They have to have an explanation for everything. Don't let anyone say, go read the handbook. Get an explanation. Because some of the stuff, again, this is after 12 years plus of experience, some of the stuff is unnecessary. And just doing a deep dive into the insurances that you have attached to them, some people realize that it's not even doing what they want them to do, which will be a deeper conversation that we have. But itemize all of your money in and money out. So pay stub is where we start. Okay, yes, we have taxes, all of that stuff, okay? The money out, line by line, truly itemize it. Use all your different accounts, okay? That's money in and money out. Now, let's talk a little bit about our assets, okay? This is the bucket that we are trying to grow the most, okay? Our assets is what allows us financial freedom. Financial freedom means not only a lot of money, but time to enjoy the money. Okay. There's some people that have a ton of money, whatever a ton is to you, but they're so busy they can't even enjoy it with those that they love. They can't even enjoy it themselves. And then there's some of us who have a lot more time, but don't have the resources to do the things we will want to fill that time. Okay, so that asset bucket is what we're trying to make sure we can grow. So on your checklist, it talks about starting with your checking account, talking about your savings account, and what you'll learn throughout this program. Hopefully, if a couple of you guys had a chance to read the the layout, I think it was 14, 15 pages, you'll see that we're going to be talking about different buckets. You'll see that we're going to talk about having different accounts. I always recommend to people, have accounts for what you want them for. I have an account for gifts. So when holiday time comes, there's money in there. And how much I was able to save tells me how much I can spend. Okay. If you have travel coming up, travel, that's its own account as well. Okay. One thing I find that gets a little difficult for people is when they have all of their savings in one account. You guys are going to talk in the future about an emergency fund. How many months should that be? What is an emergency fund for? It's the interruption of income. Rainy day fund is separate. Okay, so these are all the different things that you'll get a little bit more information about. But as you are analyzing your money in, your money out, your assets and your liabilities, pay attention to those different buckets inside of your savings account. One of the ladies that I work with, love her to death. She's been a client of mine for over 10 years. She just hides money from herself. She got this credit union over there, which is why I say she got to go to her bank statement. She's got to go to her paycheck. So that way she was able to find, oh, I use this account for this. Just didn't even come to her brain, right? Because a lot of different things, some people's jobs will allow them to send 300 to this credit union, send 150 here, have the mortgage go there, different places. So looking at these statements and actually making sure there's nothing that's left uncrossed, she knows exactly where everything is. And then the planning can happen accordingly. Okay. So the checking accounts, the savings accounts. You guys are going to learn about some very nifty savings vehicles that you guys should be using. High yield savings is one of them. Okay. Understanding where your money is and how it's working for you is important, but that's why we have to do the beginning. Understanding where our money is. Money in, money out. Stocks and brokerage accounts. Okay. Maybe you guys have some money with Merrill Lynch or Charles Schwab, or maybe cryptocurrency, or, E-Trade, a Robinhood, a Acorn, something like that. Okay, these are just a few of them, but get those statements as well. We don't want to have any stones unturned. All right, so all those different things are considered the brokerage accounts. Okay. Any of your retirement accounts. Any job that you have ever had, whether you realize it or not, I would probably make a call to see if I left any money there. I have found people very retired or trying to retire in their 50s and 60s, and they have 20, 30,000 sitting in an old account. But maybe they weren't vested at the time and they had to wait to a certain age before they can touch the money. Okay. So just literally looking back over your job history, you can see if there's anything that you may have not forgotten or may have forgotten about, I'm sorry. And get all of those statements. Compile them all in one place. Make some phone calls. Call the companies. I tell people all the time, I really wish I can figure out how to make a website where you could type in your name and your social, and every dollar you have anywhere would just pop up. All the money from all these places, because people don't change their social often, right? I just really want to be able to be the one to invent that. But in the meantime, go back and look at any of your past jobs and figure those things out. 401ks, 403bs, IRAs, pensions, and IRAs don't have to be through your job. Those are individual retirement accounts. So maybe you sat with a financial planner at some point in time and they suggested that. Any of the accounts that you may have, sometimes they're attached to your bank, but look for all of those. And then any other investment accounts, right? So I mentioned high yield savings. High yield savings accounts are typically online banks. So they're not attached to much of anything, right? I have one of mine through Capital One. So I have to look particularly for that. So anywhere that money may be stored. And your cash on hand. Some people are very big on saving cash. Maybe you just grab it, I remember I did a challenge I saw on social media several years ago, and it said, keep all your fives in a bucket and don't spend them. If you have a $5 bill left at the end of the day, keep it in there. Somebody was like, all your ones, right? And it was just my little plastic bottle thing from college, right? So cash that you may have on hand, wherever that may be, look and locate all of those. Because again, what are we trying to do? We're trying to see our financial picture. We can't make changes to what we don't know is happening, okay? The other part, which is going to be tackled tomorrow in detail, is our debt and our loan accounts. And I'm just going through the financial account checklist, okay? Credit cards. It's very important when you look for your credit card information to know who's the creditor, what's the interest rate, what's the balance, what's the credit limit, okay? And are there terms to where the interest rate is going to change? Some of us have cards that maybe we've paid off another card with and it gives us 0% until such and such, those things, right? So do a deep dive into any of the credit accounts that you have. Similar to your bank statements, pull those out and see exactly where everything is, okay? Look for that. But the interest rates are very important because you're going to need that part for tomorrow. So I encourage you to make sure that part is taken care of. You know what your interest rates are and the balances on those accounts. Your mortgage statement, okay? Mortgage statement is very, very important. Most of us who have mortgages, we have a 30-year loan, right? Maybe a 15-year loan. So it's not much changes in that. It's not a lot of balloon payments these days anymore, but maybe you had a refinance that is going to have a change soon or whatever the case is, but you want the actual statement. Don't just guesstimate it. Get the actual statement and figure out what the interest rate is on there. Maybe you purchased when the interest rate was high. Maybe it was low. If you have any seconds on your mortgage or, HELOCs or anything like that tied into a debt attached to your home, make sure you guys have that information because there's a good debt, there's bad debt, which will be discussed in detail. And so again, don't be discouraged when you start getting this information. Just have it. Make sure you understand. Put it in all the different buckets on the spreadsheet. That's why the spreadsheet is a lot because it really is our financial life in one place. Student loans, very, very important. Very, very important. And for parents out there, if you have student loans on your children, those count too. Right? They got the Parent Plus loans. There's a lot of programs out there to help you with your loan payment processes. There's income-based repayment stuff. There's ways to reduce it, ways to give it forgiven. So knowing your student loans, just like your credit loans, how much is the balance? What's the interest rate? Or have they been consolidated? And who is the creditor? Okay. And really, for me, back up and go back to your mortgage one. Our mortgage is usually bought off by somebody else. So who you started your mortgage with is typically not the person you still have with it, right? So make sure you know what that is. And then any other debts or loans, personal loans, through banks or institutions or family loans where, someone loaned you some money, whatever it is, have those out. And then lastly, just your other assets, right? So income property, right? You have land that, mom or dad or grandma or grandpa left you somewhere, got 20 acres sitting over here. You just know it's there for you. You don't know exactly what it is. If you have vehicles or boats, right? You can get your vehicle loans as well to figure out what's left on those, right? If it's a lease, if it's a actual purchase, what's the interest rates, all those different things. Motorcycle, jewelry over 2K, right? Any of those things over 2K, that's considered your other assets. Maybe you actually have gold or different accounts. I know I've tried so many things with so many people. So this over here and that over there, whatever it is, just do a deep dive on all of those things. That, you guys, will truly, truly give you a starting place. It will give you a way to, I promise you, some of it will make you feel a little down. We all gone through it, okay? But you will be encouraged when you get plans to tackle everything, okay? But being honest and truthful with ourselves is the most important part. And taking the time to truly do these exercises is important. I encourage you to do them by tomorrow if you have not done so. Okay. by tomorrow, because we really want you to be prepared to actually start jumping into you, because what is this? Rewriting your money story. So we got to know what you got to know what your money story is and finding your fortune. I am going to pass it back over to Miss Lakeisha Solomon so we can do some questions, answers. We'll all jump in unless anybody has any questions they directly want to ask right now. But I definitely hope that the information has, given you a starting place. And we're ready to really rewrite our money story. And actually, one question I want to ask you guys to think about, I want an answer. Think about, you probably have heard this before, what was your first memory of money? That thought, along with what Lakeisha asked, what is a wealthy woman to you? We're going to make that line connect. Okay. Your first memory of money, good, bad, or indifferent, to what vision you're creating for yourself and your life. Thank you, guys. Lakeisha?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Helena, for your words of wisdom, for sharing, for your transparency. This is what we need. This is a part of our sisterhood, is really making sure that we are, supporting each other and sharing the things that the knowledge we obtain and the things that we can do. It's our job to share it with one another and not keep it to ourselves. I do see one question in the chat that says, should insurance be on the spreadsheet? Absolutely. It will fall under your personal expenses category. So where it says, let me share the screen, where it says expense, there is one category that says life insurance there. That would be right there. Okay, so yes, you definitely want to add that in. You also want to make note of the details of that, how much coverage you have and things as well, in another space, so that you have that. Now, any other questions before I wrap us up with our call to action for tonight? Any other questions? Okay. If not, there are two things. Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Go
So
ahead.
I noticed the line for the medical insurance, but if that's taken out of our paycheck, we won't put that, right?
Right. You won't factor that in because on the income you have gross and net. So it will be covered in there. Yeah. That would be more so for out-of-pocket medical expenses that you may have to take care of. Like I remember one of my kids had an injury, I had to pay extra for physical therapy. So that was a new monthly expense I didn't have before. Great question. Great question. All right. Now, obviously you can use this in a different format. The reason why we use this spreadsheet format is just so that it would do the calculations for you, save you that time. So if you just make a copy or download that spreadsheet, you punch the numbers in and it will automatically populate the totals where it needs to be. All right. So my question to all of you sisters out there, for those who are going to be watching the recording, is first, have you truly gathered all your documents? Helena talked about the various places and how it would be so nice if we could just punch in our info and boom, here comes all of the different accounts that we've set. Some of the things I started in my 20s when I was starting off my career and thought I knew it all. And I don't even remember where some of those accounts are. Maybe some of the things that I thought was a good idea and I didn't keep track. Maybe for some of us switching from the paper age to the digital age, some things got lost in the shuffle, right? That's a big one, right? So we want to do some work to gather those documents. We are on a path to find the fortune. There's a lot of things that God's already given us. He's already blessed us with. We just need to know how to utilize it in its proper way, how to be wise, exercise wisdom, and how, with all our getting, to get an understanding and also to apply that and help others. So many of us maybe have gathered some of those documents, but not all of them. I urge you with all of my heart to start working on gathering those documents. Give yourself a deadline because we will get busy. Life will go on. Things will happen and it will get lost in the shuffle. I want to encourage you to prioritize this, to take the time to gather those documents tonight, tomorrow. I don't know what time zone you're in. I think most of us are Pacific Standard Time. So we still have time this evening to gather some of those documents. Start a checklist if there are other ones you don't get to tonight, so you know exactly what you need to get back to tomorrow. We do this with all of our clients all the time. Okay. But when we do it with our clients, we do it for them by looking at what they have gathered. So we sit down together and we take those statements with them and we start to input those numbers and information. So we help walk them through it. Okay. So if any of you want to know how to do that in a one-on-one setting and you want to have a private meeting to organize your status, gather your documents, I'm going to put a link in the chat that you can use to schedule a 30-minute meeting to do that. Okay. It is 100% your decision if you want help with that. We wanted you to know tonight how to do it yourself. Okay. You also have the option to have our help one-on-one. Okay. And with that, we'll be able to personalize your situation for you. Okay. Any questions about that before I give my last announcement of the evening?
I was just going to say thank you so much for that, Lakeisha. That was going to be my question. I wanted to ask Helena that, like, will you sit down with me? Because I'm one of those people, I need the one-on-one, face-to-face. You help me do it. Let me watch you do it. And then maybe I can do it. So please, I would definitely will utilize
And
that.
then I can do it after you know.
Yeah. Then I can do especially when it comes to numbers. So thank you. I will be looking forward to that link.
Absolutely. I'm going to put it in the chat right now. And I learned just like you, the practice tonight, being able to be interactive with writing things and working through as our awesome facilitator was sharing, and also getting that support. You walked me through exactly how to put this into practice. And then I think I can duplicate it from there. And listen, ladies, we want to duplicate it not just with other loved ones. We want to duplicate it in our church communities. We absolutely want to equip one another. This is a sisterhood, right? So we want to help them to be empowered as well. So I do encourage you to, this is not a type of class where if you miss the first one, you can't attend the rest, because I promise you every night there's going to be some amazing nuggets that you can take and apply. So if you have sisters that weren't on tonight, you can let them know, listen, I need you to give us 60 minutes tomorrow, 60 minutes. Hop on, because this will be well worth your time. Okay. So I put that link in the chat. Oh, I got you, Sister Veneer. I started collecting receipts this weekend and it's getting real. Let me tell you, sis, I'm with you on that. This is something we also want you to know, as you heard Helena being very transparent and just sharing. These are things that we are making sure that we're working on applying in our own lives. There are things that we're constantly learning, constantly adjusting, constantly improving. So we are not here as the all-out experts in everything regarding finance, and we have all the answers and we're doing everything right and no one else is. That is not where we are. We are in this sisterhood. We're learning and growing together, and we want to share with you what we're learning and applying in real time. Okay, so that's what this series is about. So thank you all for joining us tonight. That link is in the chat. I will send a follow-up email that will have that link as well, and you can pick the day and time that works for you. And I believe that's all. Oh, one other thing, I wanted to tell everyone what's up for tomorrow. So tomorrow's discussion is about debt. Oh my gosh. The big scary word. It's not that scary though, but it is scary to think about, right? Some of us are like, I don't even want to know, especially since COVID. I don't even want to look at it. Just push it to the corner. But hey, it's not going away, you guys. And some of that debt's not going away when we're not here anymore. And it's still going to be left to our families. So we do need to understand how to tackle it and how to do it in a way that is realistic to our financial situation. So tomorrow is going to be identifying money beliefs that are stopping us from having what we want or what we say we want. We're going to understand how to crush our debt, learning how to align our values and vision with our choices that we're making every day, how to financially gain control of those daily choices, how to negotiate tough conversations, how to stop buying things that we don't actually want, but just impulse, right? Amazon, ads on Instagram, right? Using this crush debt strategy, which is an acronym, we'll break down tomorrow, and also understanding good debt versus bad debt, which we heard a little bit about tonight. We're going to break that down tomorrow. So I look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. I see you, Sister Lavelle. You've already set up your time and just popped up on my screen. So we look forward to seeing you, sisters, tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. It's 6:59. We're right there. Okay. We're holding it to this time. So thank you for valuing yourself enough. And I'm going to ask Angela to close us out in prayer before we log off tonight.
All right, that was I'm so glad you all enjoyed it. Thank you for spending your time with us. So we're just going to go ahead and pray. Father God, in the precious name of Jesus, Lord, we thank you and we praise you for this opportunity for us to just have this conversation and learn how to get on the right track for our finances and how to get them to a place where they not only give us peace, but they also glorify you. We thank you for the instructors that we have lined up for this week. We thank you for our instructor tonight. And we just thank you, Lord, for just continuing to bless us all and bring us together where we get to know one another and also our finances, but also to grow together financially. Let it all be for your glory. We love you. We thank you. We praise you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Good night and
Amen.
God bless you all. Thank you,
Good
Helena.
night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night. Thank you all. Thank you, Angela, for inviting us. Thank you.
Oh, good night. You're welcome. Bye.
Good night.